This is our friendly guy. What's his name again?
Tata. Tata.
Tata.
Tata.
Yeah, Tata. He's a puppy. He's our little parking lot mascot.
He's a handsome guy.
Yeah.
Right?
He's a good guy.
Have a
Look who's showing up on his road glide to practice. This is a monumental occasion. Rich is on his road glide for practice session 81. Here we go. Oh, that's fabulous.
Gonna dedicate this to good Mr. Simmons. This one's for you.
Ah, this is awesome. Rich is on his road glide today. He surprised us all. Tune in to practice session 81 because that's where it's all going to happen. Practice session 81 today. And we have myself and Jeff and Rich today. And Rich has his road glide. So we are super excited that he has up-leveled himself to his road glide. He's going to practice on it. He's going to see how much easier it is to turn and manage than his Fat Boy. And it's going to be a super fun practice session. We're sad because Mike isn't here, but he's with us at heart and he'll be here on Saturday. So we will get started.
We're coming off of Be the Boss of Your Motorcycle practice session 121 with Robert Simmons.
Already I see a difference with him. The revs aren't so high, he's cruising. Revs for the stop. Okay, this is exercise 1, smooth starts and smooth stops.
If you're curious to see how we did, Jeff, myself, and Rich all did that practice session with Robert. And you can go over to the Be the Boss of Your Motorcycle practice session playlist and look up 121, Space Coast Harley Davidson, in Palm Bay, Florida.
Just keeping my revs up. Slow as possible. Handlebars a little bit for working it out. If you feel a little tippy, it means you're pulling the clutch in too soon, which I have a habit of doing.
It is important to practice regularly, but it's just as, if not more important, to practice the right things regularly. So if you can, attend a Be the Boss of Your Motorcycle practice session with Robert Simmons, because he's going to bring out in you all the things that you need to work on specifically. Then you can go back and work on those things.
Boy, Jeff's really made a difference here since that Be the Boss session. His revs are lower, still in control of his bike. Good. Rich on the road glide. Little slower. Even slower. There you go. Just getting used to it. Okay, so Rich, wait a minute. So what you want to remember is when it makes a difference on the heavier bike, stay in your clutch until you put your foot down and keep that throttle in the preload position, and then As you put your foot down when you're braking, then pull in your clutch. And you'll notice that the bike, it's kind of like a balance thing you do right with it. So if you want to go again, so this will help you with exercise 4 too, because you'll be ready for it. So just remember, stay high in the friction, higher probably than you're used to, because it'll make you feel a little bit more stable. Okay, so don't pull it all the way into the grip, just keep it right at 0. Better. See, does it feel different? There you go. Even slower. There you go. That's it. Perfect. Well, that was fast. That one was fast. Okay, a little bit too much clutch because you're going a little bit too fast.
Right.
Okay, but your stops look great. Okay, now we're going to do the slow ride, no rear brake. This one we kind of coast a little bit before we get going, so you got to really stay out of the friction until you get to go up this hill, and then you can give it a little bit of clutch. I'm just barely into 1, just into the friction zone. And then smooth stop. A little fast. You can slow down a little bit. You can always tell because the steering wheel's too straight. Or the steering wheel, the handlebars, the front wheel's too straight. Smooth stop.
So the thing with Rich bringing his road glide today was really at the insistence of Robert. When he went to the practice session, Robert gave him a lot of guff for bringing his Fat Boy and not bringing the road glide. So Rich promised him he would bring the road glide to our next practice session, and he's doing fabulous on it. But he realized his handlebars were a bit low for him to be doing some of the turning.
And then a smooth stop. Don't forget, keep that out there all the way until you put your foot down. Eyes up. Slow down. Smooth stop. There you go. The stop is beautiful. I think your eyes aren't really straight ahead.
Yeah, you know what? I was here the whole time.
Yeah. And no head and eyes on his turn. Okay, now we're going to do trust and believe. Trust and believe. First gear. Cover the rear brake. Throttle up. Find my friction. Foot up. And smooth stop. Smooth stop. He always forgets. You're moving. Wait till I say foot up. There you go. Trust and believe. Foot up. Oh, look at you! Wow! That was so good! Did you see that?
You gotta get these bars moved.
Yeah, just remember, you want to remember to counter sit more than you do on your other bike. On this one,
Do what?
counter sit more. Like, so your shoulder, you're going left, you want to be your shoulder over here, so you're pushing the bike this way, but you're not going that way.
Right.
And also the revs higher than you're used to. That will help. Exercise 4.
First time through is straight up, no lean, no stopping. And this is Rich's first time on the road glide doing the right-hand turn. He's a little heavy on the brake, but he's really good.
Awesome, you did it.
Fundamentals don't change. So no matter what bike you're on, the fundamentals don't change. Jeff really does struggle with the left-hand turns.
Let that clutch out, let that clutch out. Yeah. Inside cone. Little heavy on the brake. Just getting used to it. That's it. Okay, over the center line from a stop. To a stop. That's it. Okay, this one's going to be brakeless. Jeff, don't forget the smooth stop. That's it. Little clutch. Straighten out. Smooth stop. Good job. Okay, brakeless again. end on a win. Beautiful. Always got to end on a win. Good job. It takes a bit to get used to. It's going to take a few practices.
I've got to move these bars.
Yeah, they're low.
Yeah. Figure out how to get all this crap off of here to do it.
Oh, yeah, that stuff just pops off, right?
I have no idea.
I think there's like 2 screws. Right turns. Jeff likes those right turns better. Okay, I'm on the inside cone here. Across the middle line. To a stop. Oh, did I hit it? Across the middle line again. That time I didn't hit it.
One side is always typically easier than another side. It looks like the right-hand turns are better for Rich on the road glide, and certainly Jeff likes the right-hand turns better too. For myself, the Road King, I think the right-hand turns are harder for me and the left-hand turns are easier. But, you know, it's pretty even on the Road King for me. And I enjoy going whichever way. But you can see Rich hits the cone more than he does on his Fat Boy. I don't think he likes that.
You can go. I'll go pick that up. I'll get it. I'll get it. I'll just do a brakeless from here.
We do try to end with a successful completion on each side when we're doing these exercises. So exercise 4 gives us lots of opportunities to go many times because we do hit the cones or go outside the bounds or have to clutch out of it. But we really work hard on getting to a complete success before we finish exercise 4. And we encourage you to as well. I'm working on my brakeless as much as possible. That's Rich going brakeless with the road glide. That's excellent. Jeff's not quite there with the brakeless. He's still working hard on using his brake. We're trying to get him to be a little bit lighter on the brake.
Take something getting used to a new one, huh?
Yeah, I can't do much without adjusting these bars. So.
Well, just take it slow. Exercise 5. Single serpentine. Start wide, stay wide. I'm going to start off brakeless.
So we've got the cones here at 15 feet apart. Sometimes we move them into 12 feet, but since Rich is on a road glide for the first time and Jeff is still working on this, leaning his bike in both directions, we kept him at 15 feet. So I work on brakeless and going as wide as I can. Now, although the fundamentals don't change, it does take a bit to get used to a different motorcycle and how it feels. So Rich is realizing that his handlebars are kind of low for all these maneuvers, which means there is a difference when you practice on a different motorcycle. So a lot of times we try to tell ourselves that we're getting all the practice that we need until we try it on a motorcycle that is a little bit bigger, maybe a little heavier, set up a little bit differently, and we find out that maybe it does make a difference when we practice on that bike. I think it does. I think you should always practice on the bike that you ride the most. I have a practice bike now with the Road King, which is very similar to the Street Glide, but my boards on my Street Glide are lowered, and I can't lean as far on my Street Glide. So doing it on the Road King allows me to be a little bit more aggressive on my leans and my turns so that I can improve my skills. The road glide or the Street Glide is a little bit limiting in that respect, but everything else about it is the same for me. So I like the Road King so I can do more and not beat my Street Glide up. But I think it is important to ride practice on a bike, especially if it's a different bike. Like Rich has a Fat Boy, and then he's got a road glide which he rides with his wife on the back. So I think personally practicing with the road glide once in a while is an important thing to do, especially since he noticed that his handlebars are not high enough. So he might consider changing those and setting himself up a little bit more powerfully, so that if he has to do some of these maneuvers while he's out on the road, especially with his wife on the back, that he might be set up for it and be more comfortable with it because he practices with it. So there is a difference. Bottom line, I think there is a reason to practice on the bike you ride the most.
He's got it. exercise 6. We're just cruising.
We practice U-turns a lot. We do all sorts of variations. As you can see, we do straight through, we do them from a stop, we do them from a stop to a stop, and then we do them brakeless. And we also are doing them tighter, right? So that's an 18-foot U-turn we're doing there. So the U-turn is set up for 27 feet. Typically, you're shooting for being able to do a 24-foot U-turn. So you can see Rich is able to do a 24-foot U-turn easily with his road glide. The reason that I always try to practice U-turns tighter and tighter and tighter is because I want it to become part of my everyday. This is how I operate my motorcycle. So when I'm doing a U-turn, I'm completely 100% confident on how much space I need in order to pull off a U-turn. And the more comfortable you are with it, the better it is when you're out on the road. There's no second guessing yourself, no hesitancy. You just know how to do it, and that's what you do automatically. You're right away doing your U-turns as you would pulling out from a stop or doing anything on your motorcycle. And that's really what the practice is for.
Jeff, head and eyes first toward the camera. So really turn that head and eyes around. Don't turn the head with the steering, because that's what's not letting you fully commit to that lead. Look, turn.
So here's an example of something that I am not 100% comfortable doing when I'm in a real life situation on the road, is that drop and catch. So why do I practice it so much? Is because there's going to be a point where I'm able to do that as a matter of fact.
Jeff,
every day. This is how I ride my motorcycle.
Lean forward.
I'm not there yet.
But
I'm
keep your
still
right
practicing,
shoulder over the
getting
right
over the
handlebar.
nervousness about doing it and being 100% consistent with it. And that's where your confidence comes in, is that, you practice it so many times that it becomes second nature, and it's just the way you ride the motorcycle.
There you go.
And that's really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for being able to do that without even giving it a second guess. Right now, there's a second guess, there's a third guess, there's a fourth guess, and, sometimes I drop my bike, sometimes I, am just sweating it, and I do it successfully, but it's not 100% comfortable. And that's why we practice. It's got to be 100% built into your core of the way you ride. And that's the reason that practicing regularly and frequently until you're over the yips and the drops, right? So you don't panic in the middle of the road.
Yeah. That's because you had it and you leaned into it and you had it. You just pulled the clutch and hit the brake. Keep that clutch right where it is.
Doggone it. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
All right. Let's make that only one of those.
Team of 3. Yeah, you were like perfect. You dropped in and then you got scared and then you hit the brake and pulled up.
Okay. That's not happening anymore.
So it's what I'm doing here. Okay, only a little bit less of the drop. But when you feel that drop, just keep the clutch.
Okay. Just drop it and even clutch.
You can give it a little clutch, just a tiny.
Okay.
Because it'll stand you up and make you go straight if you give it too much.
Okay.
But if you don't give it enough, you go over. So I found out.
Luckily, that's got it up 17 times in 1 second.
I know. He's transformed. Woo! Little bad on my timing there.
So you can see that little bit of hesitation. There's just not enough speed to lean the motorcycle. And that's just from not being comfortable with the drills on a different bike. Now Jeff he stands the bike up at the pinnacle of the turn and then loses his momentum, and he presses the brake. Sometimes he presses the brake hard and pulls the clutch in, and that's what drops the bike. But you just have to keep practicing and practicing and practicing in order to get things to feel more comfortable. They're just not comfortable at first. And I remember doing just U-turns and thinking, oh my God, now I'm doing a drop and catch and a throw and catch. So again, you will progress. It's just a matter of practicing over and over and over until it becomes part of the way you ride. And that's really the intention of practicing, is doing it until it's the way you ride your motorcycle. It's not to go to practice things and then go back out on the road and ride the way you normally ride. What you're practicing, these drills and these exercises, the intention should be to have it become the way you ride your motorcycle all the time. And then you're going to be, that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying it'll enhance your riding experience when you're on the road. It's also really good to videotape yourself while you are practicing, because a lot of times we think what we're doing is entirely different than what we are doing. We think we're making tight turns and we're not really making tight turns. We think we're leaning the bike and we're not really leaning the bike. We think we're doing things out on the road that would stay inside of cones that are marked off so you know exactly how many feet you are doing your turns on. We think we're doing that out on the road, but when we see it on the video, we realize that we're not as tight as we think we are. We're not leaning as far as we think we are. We're not as smooth as we think we are. So that's why it's really good to watch yourself on video to know, well, where is my skill level really? I mean, it may look like I've turned inside of an 18-foot, but then when I do it with cones, it's nowhere near an 18-foot. I think I'm doing 27 feet, but it's nowhere near 27 feet. So that's really why you want to practice with video. You want to practice with cones. You want to practice with other people. Other people also bring your level of skill up. So when we practice with people who are better than us, it helps everyone rise up and stretch a little bit more and try a little bit more to do the maneuvers. And it also sometimes resonates when you see somebody else doing it a little differently. So when you're always with the same people, you may not notice the nuances, but then when somebody different comes along and they practice with you, you start to notice that they're maybe doing something a little bit different, or they might have a pointer or two to share with you. And that's why it's always fun. Our practices are open. They're free of charge. There is a little hold harmless agreement that people sign just to show that they have insurance and whatnot. But it's mostly, we're just practicing. We're not really coaching. We're not teaching people how to ride a motorcycle, but we are just working together to get better. And that's really what practice sessions are, is working together to get better. You're not always going to be perfect every time, but you are going to start becoming more comfortable with the feel of your bike. And as you start to get more comfortable with the way it feels, you can be a little bit more and more and more courageous, and then that will help you improve your skills, because some of these things I would never have dreamed of doing when I first got started on a motorcycle, and now I do them with ease, and I want to do them. I want to practice them, and I want to get better all the time on my motorcycle, because you never know what's going to happen out on the road, and you want to be prepared for it. And you just don't want to leave that stuff up to chance when you don't have to. Fear is a funny thing too. It can motivate you to practice, and it can motivate you not to practice. And I think that's just an interesting phenomenon. I was so afraid of my motorcycle that I couldn't see myself not practicing. And I was so afraid to think that I was going to have some kind of a mishap on the road where I just, like we call that a brain fart, right? Like you just, your brain goes blank and you don't know what to do. I couldn't imagine having something like that happen while I was on the road. And not being familiar with the motorcycle and what it was going to do, what I was going to do, and how to do some of these things with a big heavy bike, it just to me was beyond my comprehension. Like right there, I'm trying to break that instinct of putting my foot down and holding the clutch out so that you can bring the bike back up with the clutch rather than put your foot down. A lot of times that happens, people pull the clutch in. That's the worst thing you can do, is pull the clutch in when you're going down, right? You want to make sure that you're in the friction where it'll stand the bike back up.
Yes! Look at that!
So those are things that without the repetition of practice, I would never be able to break the instinct. Because Robert, who's our mentor, always says the things that you will do with instincts on a motorcycle are the exact opposite of what you want to do on a motorcycle. So don't rely on instincts to get you through. You really need to do habitual repetition of managing yourself on a motorcycle so that you're doing the right thing at the right time. And that only comes through practice. Rich is trying the figure eight for the first time on his road glide. And as you can see, he's got his legs swinging out to the side there because he feels like his handlebars are too low. So that's another thing to notice when you practice on a different bike is am I set up properly for doing these tight turns? It does take something to get used to a different bike and doing these maneuvers. I'm sure that if he brought his road glide every single time to practice, that he would be whipping out his tight turns as he does on his Fat Boy on this road glide. But for now, he's gonna give it a rest. Jeff just doesn't want to lean his bike. So he presses the rear brake to go slower and slower, which is not helpful when you're trying to lean your bike. See, he almost stands it up and brings it to a stop there.
Gotta do a full circle. Yeah, full circle. Head and eyes, remember.
But he is getting better of not going around the entire parking lot to get back into the exercise. He used to take a lap around the entire parking lot in order to get back into the exercise, which we thought was kind of funny. But you got to give it to him for persistence. He is working so hard on being the boss of his motorcycle.
That's it. Right turns is so much better.
But he's just got to give up that rear brake a little bit. And also trust. Trust that when he's in the friction zone, the bike isn't going to fall over. It's only going to fall over if he jams that brake and pulls the clutch in.
Keep it turned. Keep it turned. There you go.
He's using all of his space though. It's funny because he's not afraid of dropping his bike because he's done it so many times. But there's still this embedded fear of leaning the bike over that he's just working on. But he's not going to give up. He's going to keep at it until he gets it. It's just a lack of trust. It's a lack of trust on the physics of how the motorcycle works. It's like he doesn't believe.
I'm gonna stand over here. When you come around, come towards me. Don't go over there.
See his foot on the rear brake there, up and down, up and down. That pressure on the rear brake needs to be ever so slight, and you really need to learn that clutch control. So it's the clutch being he doesn't have the fine-tuned feeling of when to let the clutch out and when to bring it in. And we're talking microscopic moves with the clutch. It's not open it and close it. Now that scared him.
Whoops.
So he'll take a break. Now, when I get in here, I always try to work on, a couple of loops where I'm just getting my bearings and get my throttle right and my clutch right. And then I sometimes will take my foot off the rear brake so I can just work on the clutch work and keeping it tight still. So tight, tight, tight. You can notice my foot's not on the rear brake, and I'm just working on my head and eyes. I'm working on holding my turns, holding, then transitioning quickly. Holding, transition. Holding, transition. And I find that this exercise is one of those exercises where I can really work on my head and eyes. Like, am I looking over my shoulder? Am I looking towards the exit cones? Am I holding my turns longer, and am I leaning forward, and do I have my clutch in the exact right position where I can just leave it there? So I'm trying to keep my throttle in one position, my clutch in one position. I'm not using the rear brake, and I'm just doing the exercise. Now we're into the offset double serpentine, and you can see Rich here is starting his transitions late, so he's on the back side of the turn, which makes it very difficult to get through the gates. And it's really just from not holding the turn on the first one long enough, right? So it pushes you back each time. So you want to be making your U-turn before you get to the gate. So we'll see how he does on the way back. Again, this is the first time he's doing this exercise, and this is his favorite exercise. It's the first time he's doing it on his road glide. But see, he didn't hold his turn that long.
There you go.
He held it a little bit longer that time.
Hold it. There you go.
Now he's holding it a little bit longer, but it pushed him wide. but just not completely 100% comfortable with how he feels on the motorcycle. Now Jeff's been working really hard on this one, and we had him going on the outside of the cones the first time through. You can see he's really, really hesitant to turn his wheel. And now he's going wider and wider. So when you miss those first two gates, it's hard to make up the difference as you get past them. So he's going super, super wide now around every gate. And this is really just to work into getting the flow, right? Just working on the flow of holding turns. It doesn't matter if you go through the gates or not. Really what you're working on is obviously bringing that in. But you can see how fast he's going. So that means he's too much into the clutch. Okay, so his clutch is open too far. It's really something to get him to stay in that friction point where it's just at the grab. He's always way past the grab, and then what he does is he tries to slow himself down by riding the rear brake. Now, that's just creating torque in the motorcycle. So that's where people are always worried about, burning the clutch out, burning the, overdoing it on the brakes and whatnot. But this is just a learning process. I mean, he's going to get past this, and he's going to keep his throttle down at a more reasonable level. He's eventually going to get that clutch control down, and he's going to also, not be so hard on his rear brake. He's eventually, I never believed that I was going to be able to do this exercise without my rear brake. Now I do it all the time without my rear brake. So again, it's a matter of just practicing and practicing and practicing. And doing it enough times where you start to get more comfortable with the lean of the bike and turning it and holding those turns. So Rich is going to go again. Now he's got to hold this turn longer. See, on his Fat Boy, he can recover. But on this bike, he has to hold the turns longer, and he's not doing it. So he's past where he wants to be. And so now his turns are getting tighter and tighter and tighter as he starts to progress through all the gates.
This is a good angle because it shows them if they're holding their turns long enough.
Because you really want your U-turn done by the time you go through the gate.
So the left, Rich doesn't like holding the turn. Comfortable on the right.
Hold, hold, hold. Make your U-turn. Hold, hold, hold. You got to hold that turn. See, he's not holding it. And now he's past the next gate, and now he doesn't have time to hold the turn that long. So he's tight. Now he's pushed all the way back.
Yeah, he's making it hard on himself right there.
So he's past every gate beyond. And it just gets tighter and tighter and tighter. Let's see how Jeff does this time. So, yep, holding. Really good on the first. See, that's right where he is. His left-hand turns are not tight enough, and he's not holding them long enough, and it pushes him back. But he tries to recover on this side. He's outside the gates. He's way past the gates. Tries to go through the gate, but he's past this gate now.
See, past the next gate, that's where you want to really hold your turn so you're not passing the next gate. You want to be complete with your U-turn when you go through this gate. It's halfway to a third of the way through his U-turn. That one nicely. He's halfway, yeah, and then he's wide, way past the gate. Then he's got to see now how tight he is on that gate. Now he's tight on this gate. And he's got to hold it. He's past the gate. Tight on that gate, really tight on that gate. Hold it. He held it longer that time. Better. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. And then wide on the gate.
I remember when I first was learning how to do this exercise, and I was so heavy on the brake, and I was, really straight up. And to think that I would ever do this exercise, leaning my bike, holding my turns, and brakeless is beyond my comprehension. So that goes to show what you can do with practicing regularly. You will get better. I just can't stress that enough. You will get better at managing your bike and being more comfortable on it and being more in control, and you will want to try more things. You will want to push your limits a little bit more and more. And the reason I say that is not to be daring, is to be confident and to be fearless on your motorcycle, fearing your motorcycle less, so that you can enjoy the experience of doing everything that you do on your motorcycle more. This exercise is an up level where you go straight to the gates, and you really you're employing that drop and catch that I was doing on exercise 6, the U-turns. You're really trying to drop the bike over and turn your wheel tighter so you can go right around that cone. And that is why when you're new at this exercise, you don't want to be going straight to the gates, because it's harder to do this turn and not pass the next gate. You have to stay inside of the next gate. So when you're new at this, you want to take wide sweeping turns. And when you want to push your limits and get a little bit better, you can start to be more aggressive and go straight to the gates. You can not use your brake. There's so many different ways you can up level this drill. It's super fun.
All right, well, we'll let it rest and I'll go. He's mad at you because you're too hard on the brake. Didn't you just get new brakes? He's like, you're wearing my shoes off already. Yeah. Right? Although it's cheaper than boating.
Exercise 9, the Snowman, is our last exercise that we do in the series, and we normally would have 4 circles there, but that white car has been there forever, so we have 3 circles set up. It's normally 27, 25, 22, and 18, but now we have 25, 22, and 18. So what I normally do is I'll go up and go through the exercise one time through, get my wheel placement right at the top of the circle. And then what I'll try to do is go around a couple of times in the top of the circle once I've got my wheel placement right. And just, make sure I'm leaning forward and doing all the things that I'm supposed to be doing to hold my turns. And then what I do is this move to switch directions at the top of the Snowman. That takes some practice to do. You have to have your wheel placement just right. You have to have your speed just right. And then once I do that, I'll have my wheel placement enough where I can go around in the circle a couple of times and then out. And it's really just a matter of just being in control of your motorcycle the whole way, being consistent on your brake, being consistent with your clutch, consistent with your throttle, and turning your head and eyes and looking over your shoulder.
Did I do it? Yeah, I think if I lean forward, I could get tighter. If I forget to lean forward, then I lose it. Let's go, Fraser. Start her up. Is it making a noise? Fraser's having some technical difficulties. Okay, Rich, how'd it go with the road glide first time out?
It went poorly. It went poorly. I realized that I have to move my handlebars up because I can't get it all the way to the lock. Like I told Lori, I feel like a crippled chicken on the thing with my legs spread out, but I'll get it dialed in and I'll be back.
That's right.
Yeah.
Actually, you did pretty good for the first time out on the exercises.
Yeah, I wasn't thrilled.
Well, that's you're spoiled. You're spoiled because and I get that feeling because you get used to the bike that you're on and you
Yeah.
feel good about it, and then you get on another bike and you're like, oh, I gotta start over.
Yeah.
So I was
Kinda like that,
complaining
yeah.
on my Road King the first time, but now I can do more, I
Yeah.
think, than I can on my Street Glide.
I just have to get this one dialed in if I'm going to continue doing this craziness with it,
Yeah,
but I will.
it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Jeff, how'd it go today?
It went well.
You're transformed after your Be the Boss session.
I've definitely gone forward. Today, I'm back to the brake again, so I've got to get off that. But it's fun. I mean, we just keep working
From
on
14
it.
drops to 1.
Only one drop today, yes. And it's funny how those bad habits, like the brake, has kind of come back. So I've got to work on that, and we just keep moving forward.
Moving forward.
Yeah.
Actually, your U-turns looked pretty good, so did your left and right turns.
And I have to keep looking, and moving, and not just looking forward when I'm trying to turn. So,
Yeah.
But so I'll spend the next week just no brake at all, and just trying to get better control of the clutch. So,
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, practice session 81 is in the books. We had a mechanical failure with Jeff. So he made it through exercise 8, which is the offset double serpentine. And Rich made it through exercise 8. He was having trouble with his bars being too low, so he couldn't get the tight turns. So he didn't even attempt exercise 9. So I just did exercise 9 once and got through it, and now we are off to the races. Check in next time, and we may have some new players on the board.